Good morning and welcome to this Pender County Board of Education Committee of the Whole meeting. At this time, it has been determined that we do have a quorum, and this meeting is now called to order. First on the agenda will be the adoption of the agenda. Do we have a motion?
I will make that motion.
Thank you. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Jennifer Hansen, second.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The agenda has been adopted. Now we're going to move on to number 2, financial planning. 2.1, PCS budget report with summary by PRC. Ms. Allen.
Ms. Burns, we don't have anything to report at this time
Okay.
for any of my items.
Any of your, okay. All right, we're going to move on to number 3, policy, strategic planning, 3.1, 3000 series policy review. Mr. Taylor.
Good morning, Board Chair and
morning.
members of the board. I have with me virtually Ms. Christine Schief from the School Board Association. She's worked hard with us to make recommendations for our policy review. I will turn the floor over to her in just a moment, but I did want to go through some of the minor changes that Mr. McPherson has already reviewed. There are 2 sections beyond the first section in this particular item. The first one is the minor changes. A lot of these changes deal with changing small verbiages, adding in things of, instead of just calling it the school board, it says the Pender County Board of Education. That's what the majority of these changes are. Some items like 31, 35 that have highlighted yellow sections in there. Those are items that we've added in that are extra from what the School Board Association recommends. I've read through these. Our team has read through these. We don't feel there's any necessary changes to the yellow. The one thing we would recommend, and we can ask Ms. Schief on this as well, sometimes it takes out, so for instance, policy 3140, it used to say that these evaluations will be approved in advance by the superintendent or designee. We would like to leave, they've taken the designee out. So some of those policies, we'd like to return the designee to that if it's not against any of the practices of what we can and can't do. So that's pretty much the extent of the minor changes list. The 3,000 policy, local policies, I would draw your attention to the chart on these. Some of these have been or duplicated. For instance, 3010 accreditation. The accreditation is covered in policy 3000. If we choose to keep this policy, if you guys choose to keep this policy, we need to update the SACs to advanced ed, or Cognia now, I should say. So there's some small changes along those lines that have to be redone. There are several things in here. Moment of silence, course withdrawal, final examinations, homebound instruction. Those are all topics that are unique to us or unique to your policies. Fine to keep them, nothing wrong with keeping them. I've reviewed them, our team has reviewed them. There's some minor changes listed in here that need to be updated, and they have been updated in the red lines. So I would like to treat these 2 with board's approval and with Mr. McPherson's approval as kind of first read, so we can get these out of the way. And update on the substantive changes. So during the principals meeting, the district meeting last Thursday, principals were asked to provide input on those. They went through them. Some people really love board policies. Some people don't. I tend to like them a lot. We were able to notice just exactly who was into that and who wasn't. But they did a great job digging through those and providing recommendations. And I'll have those recommendations for first read in the board meeting on December 9th. And if there are no questions, I would like to turn it over to Ms. Sheaf from the School Board Association just to give us an overview of what has taken place thus far.
Good morning, Ms. Sheaf.
Good morning. Thank you all for having me. I want to apologize first because I just realized as I was logging in that I am mislabeled. I manage the email account of a former employee for a nonprofit that I volunteer with, and I inadvertently logged in as Jerry Smith, but I'm Christine Sheep. I'm a senior staff attorney at the School Boards Association, and I really appreciate you all letting me have a little bit of time on your agenda this morning. I don't plan to spend much time, but as Kevin said, I wanted to give you an overview of what we have done this far and what you can expect from the process moving forward, and also give you the opportunity to ask any questions that you might have. So we started out by doing what's called an update evaluation. Your manual is already aligned with NCSBA sample policy manual, which is called Policies to Lead the Schools. So when I refer to PLS, that's what I'm talking about. And you already had our numbering system. I believe that you had a manual overhaul back in around 2010, 2012, and one of my colleagues at the School Boards Association helped you with that. Because you already had that system in place, we were able to take your manual and evaluate it against the PLS manual, and what we're looking for when we do that is how up to date you are. So that's the initial step in that evaluation is just comparing dates. Look at your most recent adopted date for each policy, and then we look at the PLS policy that corresponds, if there is one, and see what the revision date is on that. And from that, we can just kind of do an initial assessment of whether or not you've been keeping up with updates. Now, of course, we recognize that not every board adopts every date. We certainly understand that. This is just a rough assessment of how up to date you are so that we can get your manual up to date. Once we do that process, we take the policies that by dates alone seem to be updated. So you have a revision date subsequent to our most recent revision date, and we spot check 35 to 50 of those policies. And what we're looking for when we do that is sometimes there are boards that we might have done 3 updates on a policy since your board last reviewed and revised it. And sometimes there are boards that will go in and they'll do 1, but they won't do the other 2. And so we're trying to check that and get a sense of how up to date the policies are that we're looking at. And so we did that and reached out to Kevin and shared information with him about the manual and the amount of updating that would be needed. And provided a discounted price for the manual project, which is now where we are. So there are 2 things that you will see as we're going along, and I understand that Kevin has shared that. I want to just pull up the chart that he mentioned. Hold on. Let me see if I can pull this chart up. It looks like I might not be able to share this chart, but I believe all of you have in front of you the update chart, and we'll send this with every single set of policies draft revisions that we send to you. So it will show all of the policies that are currently in your manual, including local policies. We note for those that they are local, so there's not a corresponding policy. If the topic in that policy is covered somewhere else in the PLS manual, we will typically let you know that, particularly if it's something that is inconsistent with what might be in a different policy. We do find that sometimes boards will adopt a local policy on a topic not covered. And so we just want to make sure if that happens, that you have consistency across the manual. And so those will be noted in the chart. As Kevin mentioned, there are policies that have minor changes, that are often stylistic. We want your manual to be consistent. That's an additional part of the process. And so it seems like the trend has been in your manual for you to say Pender County Board of Education on first reference. So we changed that and make sure that that's consistent across the manual Also things like, do you capitalize superintendent or not? You know, we try to pay attention to all of those things so that it is cohesive. And then we have the policies that don't necessarily need any changes. Those are just available for review. And then finally, we do have the policies that have substantive changes. And we have gone through those, and we are not going through and striking language that is unique to your manual. We're trying to keep the sort of Pender County specific language, but we highlight that for you so that you can see these are things that are in your manual that are not in the PLS version of this policy. And the value in doing that, of course, is that you all can look at that and decide whether or not you want to keep that unique language. The staff can determine whether or not it's still accurate in your district. Things may have changed, procedures may have changed, things like that. So the substantive will come to you. You'll notice that the highlighted language, and again, that is language that is unique. We do get a lot of questions about what brings about changes in our manual because we do updates twice a year. We do them at the end of March, we do them at the end of September, and then we will do them as needed. Those are the March and September updates. Those are every year. We do them. We had to do a few days late this year because of the General Assembly. We were waiting on some things from the General Assembly and the State Board of Education. So our September 30th update actually came out October 3rd, but we always do those two. And then we will do additional updates as needed. So a few years ago, we did update in August because we had the Parents' Bill of Rights statute that came out and had some policy requirements that were included in that. So we did a special update for that so that people would have the policies in place in time for the requirements to come into effect. And sometimes you will see, and I'm sure you've seen this as you've updated your manual, but because we're doing this on a more concentrated basis, you will see that there are times you will adopt an updated version of a policy, and then the same policy will come back around in 6 months or 9 months, which can be frustrating, I understand, because it's a lot of work and there's a lot of material to go through. The changes that we make are, in the vast majority of cases, based on changes in state and federal law and regulations and State Board of Education policy. And so, for example, the graduation policy, which is 3460, is one that changes frequently, and that's because graduation requirements also change by statute and often by State Board of Education policy. And so you will see that over and over. What I always say when I talk about policy in the various trainings that the association does is that policy is a never-ending process. Your policy manual is a continual work in progress. But the goal is to keep it so that it's a resource for your staff and members of your community and for board members as well. So I really hope that you find that this process is useful to you. And if there's anything we're doing on our end that you don't like or you would like something different, please feel free to reach out. Kevin could reach out. I think we've done a good job of staying in touch up to this point, and we can work on that. We can figure out a way to do what works best for the board. That's what we're here for. We have a general process that we follow, but we can certainly talk about ways that we can do things differently, make it easier on the board. We typically send sets of revisions. We usually do them by sections. So there are 9 sections of the manual. We send the 4,000 in 2 pieces because there are so many of them and they're so intensive. That's the student section, and so that's student discipline and all of the things that go along with that. That's a whole significant chunk of that. And so we usually send the 4,000s in two different sections, and then we also do that for the 7,000s for the same reasons. That covers personnel, and there are a significant number of policies in that section, and there's a lot of meat on those as well. So that was really what I wanted to share with you. And if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to take them. Kevin has my email address as well, and it's on the School Boards Association website. If anybody would like to reach out to me by email, I'm happy to talk with any of you about the process or any questions you might have about particular policies.
I'll be glad to share the email with you guys if you'd like to communicate directly with Christine. I think Christine said something really important. The last time this was totally revamped was over a decade ago. A lot of laws have changed. If you'll notice in the substantive changes, there's a lot of general statute changes within that cross-reference and legal reference list, which means that we need to get those back in line. These are our governing policies that we have to follow and make sure they're up to speed. So it's time well spent, and we appreciate Christine and her team for helping us out on this task.
Well, and I can attest that Ms. Sheaf has helped me before on crafting policy. And she's been very effective with that. And so I'm sure our policies are in good hands. Thank you, Ms. Sheaf. We appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you. We won't hold you any longer. You're free to go. Ms. Sheaf,
I'm sorry, did you say, I lost you there for a minute.
I said we won't hold
Does
you.
anybody have any?
We won't
Okay,
hold you
great.
any longer. We know you're actually not working today. So enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you. I hope all of you have a great holiday.
Same to you.
Thank you.
That concludes my report to the board. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Taylor. Number 4 on the agenda is Student Services. 4.1, Policy 4120 Update, first read. Mr. Michael Taylor.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the board. Speaking of policy, this is one recent legal change that has impacted Policy 4120. Everyone knows that we're an incredibly military-friendly school district, obviously with several military installations just north of our border. And the Senate has deemed that, in an effort to ensure that there's smooth transitions for students who are transitioning PCS with their families across the country, oftentimes for the Marines, obviously California to North Carolina. Those are the two largest installations in the country. And with the expanse of our ability to allow kids to attend school virtually. That is, I think, one of the biggest aspects here, allowing students to enroll in our school system, knowing that they're going to be transitioning to North Carolina and specifically to Pender County. We can allow them to enroll, say, in August, even if they're not going to move until October. So again, this is just ensuring that our policy is aligned with legal laws that have been passed and general statutes. Section D is the specific area that you will see is a completely new component to the policy, and it's aligned with the general statute and Senate law. So I would recommend that we put this either on action or consent at the next regularly scheduled board meeting, pending Mr. McPherson's review and approval. Any
Very
questions?
good. Board, do you have any questions?
No question. Thank you. Have
Okay.
a great day.
Thank you, sir. Okay, number 5 is instructional services. It appears we do not have anything for that. Number 6, operations, 6.1, J.H. Lee mascot selection on December 1st, 2025. Dr. Graham.
Yeah, good morning. I think you may have covered that. So, last meeting we talked about giving the community an opportunity to vote on the mascots. So I know Bob put that out the next day. And so it will close midnight tonight, and we will have that vote done. And then Dr. Breedlove yesterday mentioned the possibility of trying to vote on that on December 1st, either in a virtual or a phone call.
Board, I would request that we have a special meeting to try and move this forward so that we can turn that information over to our Bordeaux and others that are relying on that level of information. If we could meet on just a short meeting on December 1st to be able to do that, and then there's one other item that I would request that we do, and that's approval of the school improvement plans. Those are due by December the 6th. And so by having that meeting on December 1st, it would allow us an opportunity to have both of those things done and accomplished so that we can move forward. And that could be virtual.
I was gonna ask.
Yeah, if that pleases the board.
Very good. Absolutely, let's go ahead and set that up. And also, from my understanding, the reason why we only had a week for, to do this is we had to move kind of quickly because our contractors need to know what colors we're gonna be using. So,
Yes, ma'am.
I know that this mascot selection was, we had a shortened time for the survey, but I wanted to let everyone know why the time on the survey was shortened. Okay, and that we will be making color selections. Very good.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir, thank you. Board, do you have any questions about this or comments?
No questions.
Okay.
I just want to say thank you for making it happen.
Yes.
It's been a team effort, all right? So, thanks. All right, 6.2, some of these next ones are just typical ones that we have every meeting, but Bordeaux will do their bi-monthly presentation, if you allow that, as part of the information section. Then MBP will also present again. We've got them scheduled every month now. And I think they did a nice job last time sharing their dashboard. Each time they present, I kind of assess what they're sharing, and if there's something that you would like them to additionally add on to their presentation, please let me know, and I will give them a call. One thing I requested that they add on is putting on the change orders and talking a little bit more about the change orders in that information session, and then also letting us know how much money is going to be left in the bond each time, because there's lots of expenses in this process, and we want to keep track of that. I want you to know those numbers. So those will be some additions you'll see at the next meeting. All right. Moving on to 6.4, the J.H. Lee change order app is presented again this month. 6.5 is the MVP Pay App number 3 will be presented for your approval. And then the 6.6 will be the JHLK 8 Pay App number 17 for your approval. All right, that's all I have. Any questions for me?
No, sir, I don't.
No.
Anyone?
Again, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Okay, at this time, will we be going into closed session today?
Don't have anything.
That was added.
That was just-
Quick turnaround,
Yes, sir.
if we're gonna need it or not, so we don't have to have it.
Well, no, it's always good to have the option in case something comes up. Okay, so we have no closed session today? Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our agenda this morning. So at this time, this meeting is now adjourned. Thank you very much.